Hey everyone, it's Dora from flippinghousesandpancakes.com. I'm getting ready to put together some spinach cheese knishes, and I thought I would show you how I do it. Alright, so I don't know if you can tell, but if you look out my windows, it's definitely already dark out. It is nighttime. It's been a long day. There was school in the morning, lots of math problems, all kinds of good stuff like that. And we had a lot of activities today. There were a lot of homeschool activities, and my kids went to different programs or had friends over. I actually have some kids out right now at a homeschool activity, and I have been cooking, baking. I have been super busy. I've been getting ready for my big cookbook release party, and I'm making some knishes, because what else do you do when it's late at night? Most people make knishes. So I'm actually making some spinach cheese knishes. This recipe is in my cookbook, and I thought I would show you exactly how I go about doing it. Now, I've already prepared pretty much everything, so you won't be seeing it every single step, but I'll tell you what I've done. So first, I have had this dough sitting here, and it has been resting. Now, I made this dough. This dough is it's just flour, water, oil, and salt. Those are the only ingredients in it. And this dough has been sitting, resting, wrapped in foil, wrapped in plastic wrap on my counter, and waiting for its turn to become a knish. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna wrap the knish in. This is what we're gonna use. So I just take a chunk at a time, and we're gonna roll this out. Like I said, the recipe is in my cookbook, Flipping Houses and Pancakes. Kosher recipes and kitchen design tips by an amateur professional, and it's so delicious. And part of what makes this recipe my favorite recipe, not only is it the delicious filling that I've already made, and I'll tell you about it in a minute, but it's also just the way I make the knishes. It's so much easier than making squares or circles and then wrapping each knish separately. I'm not going to do that at all. I'm going to start with kind of like a long piece of the dough, and I'm going to roll it out into a super long, skinny, rectangle. So that's what I want. I'll try and make it as even as I can, because that means my knishes will be closer to each other in size. We don't want people fighting over who gets the biggest spinach knish. And my kids do love these, even though there is spinach in it. I know that sounds terrible. No, it's absolutely delicious, and my kids love these. I'm going to turn the camera around so you get a view of how my dough looks. So I rolled my knish dough, and this is just part of it. So this is not going to make my whole batch, but you could see that I rolled my knish dough out into a really long strip. It's about 3 inches wide. Okay, you see that? Long rectangle, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill it. Okay, that was totally weird. You did not see what just happened, but when I went and I switched the camera and I went to put it back, it was not going back on my stand. It was really, really strange. Anyhow, I got it back on, so let's keep this video going. I made the filling already. This filling, and I have a huge pot of it because this stuff is delicious. The filling is sauteed onions. I use frozen spinach. I have canned mushrooms in there. There's ricotta cheese. There's shredded cheese. There's some salt, and there's also some egg and egg white in here. That helps hold it together when the knish is cooking. If I have leftover or extra of this filling, I'll put it into a pie shell, or I'll bake it all by itself into a frittata. It will get eaten. It is delicious. So I'm always happy to make more versus less, because I know it'll get eaten. If it's not eaten in knish form, it will be eaten some other way. Absolutely delicious filling. So I've already made the filling. You can see my pot here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this filling and I'm going to scoop the filling out, and I'm going to run it right down the very center of my dough. I'm just going to spread my dough out a little bit because it shrank a little bit while I was fixing my camera. I kind of contracted back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it right down the center, and I will show you this in a minute, right down the center of my dough. Okay, I'm not piling huge amounts on. It is going to, because the dough is going to wrap around the filling. So I'm going to spread some of this out. And I'm also going to leave a good 2 inches at the end, at both ends of this dough, with no filling on it, because you'll see what I'm going to do is it's going to get pinched. It's going to get wrapped and pinched, and I want there to be room for that filling to kind of move toward the outside edges. So I'm gonna turn the camera around again, try and do a close-up so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and hope that when I'm done, we'll be able to put the camera back up and it won't give me as much trouble. You see, I've got my knish dough, I've got my filling spread all the way down the center, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start folding it over. So I'm gonna wrap one side over the filling like this. You see that? Wrap one side over the filling, covering it up. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the other side and bring it back over and kind of pinch it. Okay. Try to make sure my camera stays in focus while we do this. So we'll have this all pinched, and it feels like the ends are empty. That's not gonna last. You'll see that the filling's gonna spread to the middle. So we've got this long line, kind of all wrapped up dough. I'm gonna start in the middle, and I'm gonna be pinching them. So I'm gonna pinch it like this. I'm gonna turn it, okay, and then I'm gonna move over just a little bit, make sure that stays closed. And then we're gonna pinch another piece off. So you see this? There we go, all pinched, okay, and then I'm gonna go over again. And as I do that, it's kind of squishing down toward the end, you see? And we'll just make sure that that's closed. And we'll pinch another one off. And this one didn't quite get so much filling, so I can always add a little tiny bit of filling in there. It's always better to add some at the end than to just having it overflow. I'm gonna pinch here. This one's gonna make about 8 knishes, this little line of knish dough for me. And again here, and again, I'm gonna put a little bit into those last ones, but let me show you what I'm gonna be doing next. So with just a knife or a pizza cutter, we're gonna cut the pieces exactly where we pinched them. Okay, so cut them where we pinched them. All right. Okay, and that one's gonna get a little more filling, and that one's gonna get a little more filling, but I'd rather add extra at the end than to have it kind of overflowing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up the pieces. I have a sheet pan right here. I've already covered it with foil and sprayed it so that it is ready to go. I'm gonna take this, you see that nice open end that I cut? I'm gonna just smoosh it down. I know, that sounds really fancy. Smoosh it down, smush, push, push, like that, and look at that. That looks like a knish. I'm gonna take the next one, and again, smush it down. Now the bottom will kind of seal itself off as it bakes. You won't have to worry about that. And you can do this with a potato filling or whatever, but this is the one that I use in my cookbook. Again, you could use like my mashed potato recipe or whatever it is that you want to fill it with, kasha mushrooms, whatever it is that you really enjoy. And I'm gonna place them all around my baking pan. Then we'll brush them with egg and pop them in the oven. Okay, so these guys are all on my sheet pan. I'm gonna gently brush them with a little bit of beaten egg yolk that I added just a tiny bit of water to. I beat them. We're gonna throw these into an oven at 400 degrees, and then I'll show you how they look when they're done. All right, so I'm back. I threw the knishes in the oven, took out the dog, put the younger kids, we did bedtime routine, and they're tucked in bed. Came and pulled out my knishes. They look amazingly delicious. I'll show you, the pan's still really hot, so I've got my oven mitt on, but check out these knishes. How delicious do those look? Spinach cheese knishes, fresh and homemade and delicious. and so much better than any of the ones that you're going to find in the store. Any of the store-bought Knishes. These are delicious. Go ahead and use a different filling if you don't want the spinach cheese one. You can use, like I said, mashed potatoes. You can use kosher mushroom, pizza Knishes where you put pizza sauce and shredded cheese. You make them the same way. You use the same dough. They come out delicious. You can also make them, and then instead of baking them, you can go ahead and freeze them flat on a pan. And then put them in a bag to store them in, and then when you're ready to eat the Knishes, you can brush them and bake them, because maybe you don't want as many Knishes as the recipe makes. Maybe you only need 1 or 2. You can absolutely freeze them before or after baking. They freeze beautifully, and I hope that you will go out, you'll grab my book, my cookbook that the recipe's in, Flipping Houses and Pancakes. Kosher recipes and kitchen design tips from an amateur professional. That book is available on my website, www.flippinghouseandpancakes.com. It's also available on Amazon. I hope you'll grab the cookbook and you'll try to make these Knishes at home. And if you like this video, which I hope you did, if you like it, please subscribe to my channel. Please hit the bell for notifications for every time, so you'll know every time that I post a new video. And of course, check out my website, flippinghouseandpancakes.com.